I'm really excited. I really just have a great time helping people to learn and grow. And that's what we're all about. So I got my real estate license originally in 1989 in Pennsylvania. The same year I had my first child. And then I was at home with my kids, came back to real estate when that same child got his driver's license. And so now, believe it or not, that's been since 2006. I got in just in time for the market to crash, and that was fun. I learned to work hard. Last year, we didn't have a record year. I say our record year, we had 72 transactions. Last year, we closed 41 transactions with over $10 million in production. And this year, our numbers are on track to be far exceeding. So, yeah.
I love that. And now, Lisa, do you have a team? Or are you an individual agent? Tell us a little bit about that structure that you have.
Fantastic. I'd be happy to. So I would be helpless without my team. And I do like to follow the model. And so my first strategic hire was in admin. And so I have an amazing team. I actually have a virtual assistant and a full-time assistant. And so that's the foundation piece for me that allows me to be able to go out, be free to do my job, be face-to-face, and know that when my clients or other agents are emailing back and forth, that those people are being taken care of right away. And then we do have currently a buyer's agent, showing assistant on our team. So we're really small right now, and we've done some downsizing and restructuring, going with Recruit Select and trying to follow the model there on being very specific to make sure that, you know, our next hire absolutely matches our not only what we want in production, but our ethics, our values, and how we function as a team to make sure they're a good fit. They got to have fun if they want to hang out with us.
Would this be the model you were talking about?
Yeah, systems and models.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the MREA book, you'll probably hear that from me multiple times throughout today's event.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Lisa. We so appreciate you. And Mr. Ty Lusk. Oh man, we'll give him a hand too. Please introduce yourself. Same thing. How long in the business? Who are you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm a big Denise Meyer fan. So if you ask me to do something, I'm usually going to say yes.
Wait, I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat that, please?
You're beautiful and you're always right.
You're right.
Yeah, no, I'm Ty Lusk. I've been proud to be in real estate in Arizona since 2004. Was a solo agent for about a decade, and then created my own team, and we did pretty well. And about 2.5 years ago, I started to contemplate, like, what would it be like if I could do more of what I wanted to do and less of the things I wasn't that great at, and just spend more time in my strength zone. And so I decided to align with the Kenny Klaus team in Mesa, and we serviced the East Valley last year. My personal production was right at 10 million, and as a team, we were about 138 million, 445 sales. The team, like, one of the proud things for us is, like, we sold a home a day every day for 11 years straight. So think about that.
Wow.
So we have, I'm currently the director of sales. So I coach, train, mentor, recruit. We currently have 15 on our sales staff, about 7, 8 in admin. And this year to date, we've done 231 closings through the first half of the year, for about 74 million year to date.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Ty. I mean, both of you just truly mega agents in your own right, and so pleased to have you here today. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I'm looking here. We have agents from our market center, a couple other market centers, and I also have some guests here. So thank you so much for being a guest. And we've also got some agents from outside Arizona who wanted to be a part of this as well. So welcome everybody so much. My name is Denise Meyer, and I have been a real estate coach since 2004. I've coached over 21,000 individual agent coaching calls. That's a lot when I think about the time in a seat, right? And headsets I've gone through. And I'm currently a bold coach for Keller Williams, which my world has changed so much since I've had the opportunity to do that. And very, very proud of being the operating principal at Keller Williams Biltmore Partners and getting to work with so many of you amazing agents. And you make my world better, so thank you. Before that, I sold a lot of houses, about 3,000 of them with one assistant. Sometimes I'd have a buyer's agent. Never quite learned that skill really well. I wish Keller Williams was around when I was doing that. So lots to learn, right? Okay, so here's what we're here to discuss today. We're really here to discuss turning our leads into listings. Now, you know, anybody who attended our market conditions class, or you're active in the market right now in Arizona, there is one thing we are sorely missing, right? We do not have enough of. Who can tell me what it is?
Listings.
Listings. In fact, in Arizona, this will help all of you. I'm not going to be a stats class, I promise. To have what we call a normal market in Arizona, we should have somewhere between around 16,000 to 20,000 active listings at any given time. Right now, as of Tuesday, I don't have today's number, as of Tuesday, we were sitting at about 6,800 active available listings for each of you agents to go sell. And so it got us started on a conversation in our market center. Two things. Mark King, a great leader in our company, said that if I were still a team leader right now, I would clear our training calendar for the month of July, and I would turn everything into how do we help our agents get more listings and get them now. So we like to pivot. If our top leaders share with us to do that, we're like, okay, that's good enough for me, right? So we put this mastermind together so quickly, and we wanted to discuss it. So today is really going to be individual agent, mega team, you know, as you're working to grow your listings. I was thinking about this. If we think of countries, perhaps, where there is a big, there's a large separation between, let's just talk money for a minute, people who have large amounts of wealth and people who have not as much wealth, we call that in the middle, like where there's a growing gap of no middle class. And I've started to see that in real estate in Arizona. There's this gap between agents that are doing so much of the business and teams that are doing so much of the business and taking all the listings. And then we've got this, like what I'm going to call the have-nots that are not getting the listings. And yet it's not for the lack of working. I've always been really clear about that. Agents work harder than almost anyone I know. And yet, are we working effectively that it's going to bring us that business? So, you know, really that's what our conversation is about today. How do we get that gap? How do we go get our fair share of what's out there and, you know, then provide for ourselves and our family? So I'm going to do this. I have some fun things today. We're going to take a quick poll. And if you guys could, I'll give you about 30 seconds to answer the questions here. Why do you think the top agents are getting more of the deals in today's market? Can you guys all see that poll? And we'll see what you guys are answering here. Let's see, I'll give you about 15 more seconds. So about half of you have answered. Okay, so I'll give you about 2 more seconds. I'm going to go ahead and end this polling and see where we're at. All right, very good. So it looks here like 85% of you believe that the top agents are lead generating more. And you know, I appreciate that so much, because that just tells me that we have got some agents who are thinking really smart on here. It's not because there's more marketing. It's not because they're better looking, right? It's not because of anything other than what they're doing. So I'm going to come to each of you, Ty and Lisa, and then I'm going to open it up for more discussion, or you can put a question in. What do you think is the difference between more listings in today's world, or more business and lack of business? Who'd like to start?
For us, we really discovered that what we used to think sellers want isn't always what they want. The old mantra was, well, we can make you the most money in the shortest amount of time. But what we found is that that's not always the top motivation. It could be, hey, look, I need to sell my house to pull money out, but I don't have any place to go, or I need to lease it back, or I don't want anybody in my house because of the current situation, or because I don't want to get the house clean, or take the dogs out to the park when it's 110. So we started to devise more options for sellers. So if you can sell direct, we can sell it, you can lease it back. And sometimes convenience and just being done with it is a bigger motivator than the most net dollars, which is something we really had to adjust to versus the older mentality that we thought everyone wanted.
Excellent. So for you, it's about giving options. Now, Ty, how do you guys do that? Is that, I have a lot of questions here. I might mix them around here. Is that through when you pre-qualify them? Is it in your pre-listing packet? Is it on the presentation itself? Like, where do you present those options?
Well, we ask questions first. So we need to get an idea. What's important? Why do you need to sell? Where are you going? How soon do you need to be there? Is it something that you have to do or that you want to do? If this is a perfect situation and in 30 days or in 2 months, you were like, man, this is awesome. What happens between now and then? What are your biggest concerns about selling? What do you not want to deal with? So we start with a lot of questions, and then we can customize what the options may be based on what their specific needs are. So the general idea is what options are available to meet your needs, and then that will get the appointment. And then at the appointment, it's really a list of questions about what is important to them, what their fears and concerns are, what they hope to accomplish, what would make them, pleased and happy with the outcome, and then we customize it for them.
Okay, so I love that a lot. May I ask a few more questions around that?
Sure.
So let's say 2 years ago, how long was a pre-qualifying conversation 2 years ago compared to how long is the pre-qualifying conversation now?
I think it was a little bit shorter in the past. Now it's become a little bit longer, mainly because we've got to get a better feel. People's needs are totally different. And now with we're a team that has completely embraced iBuyers and direct buyers for sellers, because we didn't realize in the beginning how attractive that would be to so many people, because we thought they're going to leave money on the table, they're not going to get the best deal. It's why would anybody do that? But then all of a sudden we'd be sitting at the table and they'd be like, look, I would be okay giving up $3,000 or $4,000 if I could choose when I wanted to close, if I didn't have to keep my house clean every day, if I didn't have to get new carpet put in the house, like I'd be fine with all that. I just want to get out of it. And so we started to realize, probably 3.5 years ago, that things were changing and we better adjust or we were going to get left behind. And that's what we've done.
So what I hear you saying is that you're spending a lot more time on the front end pre-qualification. Now, Ty, a lot of the deals, the 440 bazillion deals your team does, are they all database, or where are a lot of those deals coming from?
Well, our top 4 sources, number one, past repeat clients. So we're staying in front of our clients with, quarterly calls, with monthly email drips, that kind of stuff. Number two is professional referrals. So that would be like other agents from other parts of Phoenix, out of the state, that kind of stuff. Also lenders, title companies, like professional referrals. Number three is going to be agent sphere, essentially. And then number four, we're known for farming. I mean, Kenny's kind of the guru of farming, but that's actually number 4 on our source list right now. And that's a monthly newsletter. It goes about 25,000 doors currently. That was the origination of a lot of leads that now are pass and repeat, because they've come back as we've stayed in touch over the years.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. So, and just, my belief has always been that the more time you spend on the pre-qual, the easier it is to get a yes at the listing appointment, because you know all the answers to what's important to them in advance. So what I really heard you saying is that you're spending more time on that pre-qual, and you've added new questions to it as well. I mean, one of them I loved is this something you want to do or you have to do? I wrote that down because I'm adding that in, right? Those are great questions, and then talking about those options. So when you walk in the door, are you finding that I'm just curious, I don't know the answer. Are you finding that they're interviewing a lot more agents than you? Or are you finding that you are, in many cases, the only agent?
It's mixed. I think that we definitely are in a more competitive environment with fewer listings and so many agents competing for those listings. So I think we're actually competing more now than we were a couple of years ago, is what we're experiencing. However, I think to actually get in the door for the appointment, we're able to narrow down that competition by these pre-qualification questions. I don't think everybody's asking that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what I'm noticing is that even though they may be talking to multiple agents up front, the number of people they actually let into their home or agree to seriously talk about working with has actually reduced, based on the way that we can learn more about them up front and just show that we care, and that we're not like everybody else. We're asking questions and having more solutions for them than most, agents or teams have.
Awesome.
Can I interject there for a second? I just have like a giant aha, and I just think of Diana Kokoska's Bold program, and just, I want to make sure my motivation matches your motivation. And honestly, I really feel like the name of that pre-qualification list should be your caring conversation instead of a pre-qualification. You're really asking, what is your motivation? What are your needs? What's important to you? I just think that's tremendous. So thanks, Ty, for sharing.
Yeah,
I got a lot of notes on that. Appreciate it.
it works
So
well.
Yeah, Lisa, let's go ahead and come to you. We had a conversation about, first, let's share, where does the majority of your business come from?
I'm so grateful to say that I'm just like Kenny Klaus. Just listening to Ty's, number 1 through 4, I would say that a lot of our business, majority, is repeat, past clients, and referral. So we're going to be getting referrals from our past clients, our sphere of influence, our database, a lot of repeat, definitely a lot of referrals there from our clients, and the professional referrals, the same. Who's your lending partner? Are they choosing to refer to you, or choosing to refer to somebody else? And other agents as well. Networking throughout the country. And I've done a listing for another agent that's here in the Valley twice. I've listed his houses for him just because he's like, Lisa, I don't do what you do. Help me. I was like, I have to charge you. And he's like, okay. So other agents could be local too. They don't necessarily, they might be too big or too small to handle something that you could do. So, make sure you're being nice to people. And then farming, I'd say that, I think it's a lot like what Ty said as well. We're still doing things like our newsletter. We're still doing, things like door knocking around our listings. And at the same time, I feel like I did a lot more of that. And now that I'm busier, that's kind of one of the things that's gotten to the back burner. it's probably a time thing. But most of those people that are now my clients that are sending me the referrals came from those initial activities when I didn't have a sphere of influence and I had to start with the farming and the door knocking and, just meeting people at the grocery store, or everybody teases me at the bar, happy hour. So, I think my list is really the same. When we look at our data, I would say we're close to the 80% past and referral repeat.
So Lisa, I'm going to ask, thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Ty, in terms of what are the sellers, because we're looking at listings right now, what are the sellers asking you, is it in the pre-qual, is it in the options, like how are you getting the listing business right now?
Interestingly enough, I think that a lot of our sellers have been referred to us, and I hate to say that it's kind of easy, because sometimes they really just, want to say, hey, I want to sell my house, send me the paperwork. And I know that sounds like it shouldn't be that easy. And when I really look at, the transactions that I've done in, the past year, I mean, there's properties that I've sold that I've never gone to. And, that's really, a sweet spot when you can get there. And then on our more traditional, when we do have, the total stranger that, we've stumbled upon or, seduced as a lead, then, we are definitely asking their motivation questions. And I actually heard what Ty said, and I thought that was kind of fascinating that I've taken almost the opposite approach. So I think this is really interesting, where I would walk into a seller's house and I see that they do need new carpet, they do need new paints. And I know that there's basically, 3 types of listings out there on the market. There's the absolute wholesale, there's the house that hasn't been renovated at all, and then there's the flip. And that house is perfect. And so now you have a regular seller, that has a regular house where with some current updating, you changing the color of the paint, putting in some new carpets, maybe modernizing the kitchen counters or painting their cabinets, that they would be able to change a couple of light fixtures. And instead of wholesaling to an investor or getting a lot less money on the retail market, they can actually compete with those flippers. So I've gone in with an approach to a lot of my listings where we'll analyze the items that need to be done if the seller's able to do those items. And we might spend, 2-3 weeks, maybe even a month getting a house market ready with the renovations and assisting them through that process with vendors and painters and references to the various people that can help them, give them recommendations. And then they have a beautiful house that sells for more faster.
So what I hear you saying, Lisa, is that you're giving options as well.
Absolutely, giving options, yes. And it has to be the same as what Ty was saying, and I had a client just like what he was saying, hey, we don't want to do this, just get me a buyer. The house is already sold, it's closing today. And they did nothing. They didn't even have it cleaned.
Giving them options.
Yes.
So I'd like you guys to write this down. 88%. 88%. Can anyone tell me what 88% stands for?
Number of homes that have multiple offers in the first 2 hours.
Great guess. And it could be. I don't know the answer to that one.
That is true.
88%, according to National Association of Realtors, is the number of buyers and sellers who say that they would use the same agent again. Now, can anyone share with me what the actual number is?
I think that's what, 16% or something?
18%.
Sorry, I was 2%.
I just saw Margie look up and go, what? See, it's interesting because in today's world, what we're seeing is that a lot of our clients aren't even, if you're in consistent communication with your past buyers and sellers, and if you're a newer agent, just the people that your sphere likes you, knows you, They trust you on an instinctual level because we all like and know and trust people, we trust people more when we know them than those who we don't know. So they already have this level of trust for you. And if we keep giving them a consistent message about giving them information about the market conditions, being a consultant, giving them options that both Lisa and Ty have talked about in a different way, as you notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
People, 88% of them will use you again because of that. And maybe for you guys, it's probably even higher. And 88% is pretty darn good. So the question I really have is, are we ever, the folks on this call, are you reaching out to your past clients, your sphere, the people who you know? I would say in the past, if you would go into a grocery store and you'd remember that, you'd say hi and remember their name by the time you walked out, is that person, have you talked to them about real estate to find out what their goals are or what questions they have? Of course, now with the mask, right? I got mine here. Somebody made me, it's got a constellation of a Libra on it because I'm a Libra. They sent me my custom one. Of course, in the grocery store, they may not recognize us yet. You know who I'm talking about. Have you reached out to them and just said, hey, I just wanted to reach out and let you know if you got any questions about real estate, I want to make sure the people I know what's going on. If that's important to you in today's world, send me your friends, family. I'll answer all questions. And it's really as simple as that. Lisa.
I have just a really quick funny story that, I do this. It's part of my, I can't help it. Actually, I talk to everyone. And there was a kid working in this gas station right by my house. I would go in there, get my coffee. And I finally said to him, I said, hey man, when are you going to buy a house? And you know what his answer was? He works at the gas station. I already have 6 houses. And here I was like prejudging, and thinking, oh, well, you're just a young kid. Like someday you're going to get there and maybe now's that time. And he had already bought 6 homes and I didn't talk to him. I saw him every day.
Love that.
So, yeah.
Well, don't love that. Don't. Yeah. Okay.
No, I love it because it makes you realize that you got to talk to everyone.
You do. All right, you guys, I'm going to ask another poll here. And while we do, I'd like to see if there's any questions that we have.
Well, Denise, can I chime in real quick?
Please.
Yeah. So one of the agents that I coach, it dawned on him, I don't know, a couple of months ago that his son played, on soccer, and he hadn't talked to any of the parents about real estate. And he got into this. He went back, and next time they got together, this was before COVID, and he started talking to him, and come to find out, he had quite a few leads just sitting there. Their people were looking to do something in real estate. He just hadn't ever asked them.
That's cool. Very cool.
It really is. I mean, we just have to talk to him about it. So here's some questions, like just logistically, we don't need to spend a lot of time on it unless this is really a huge point. So in terms of your job description, has your job description since the current market of the moment, has it changed?
Pretty much, yeah.
Like your daily activities, has it changed?
Of course.
A little bit. One of the interesting, one of the most recent listings that I took was an interesting scenario because our team, as soon as this thing started to change a little bit, March, April, we were like, well, we're not selling anything. We're just going to care about our people. So we started writing handwritten notes. We're huge on this. We write a ton of personal handwritten notes. And so one of those days, we had theme days. So it'd be Thursday is handwritten note day. So I would just write, 15 to 20 in one day. And we went out, and then sure enough, about a month later, I get a message on Facebook, instant messenger, says, hey, Ty, I got your card. I've kept it in my drawer because we've been thinking about making a move. And I know we haven't worked together. I just know you, through social media and mutual friends. But that card meant so much to me that I kept it, and I've been meaning to call you. So I wanted to see if you can come over and help us get our house sold because we're going to move to the East Coast. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome. And so literally just like a care card was something I had left them messages. They had donated to. I do a lot of fundraising and that kind of stuff throughout the year, a lot of contribution, and they'd always say, "Hey, come by and get a bag of food," or "Come by and we got clothes to donate." And I would do that, but we had never worked together. And that card was the trigger that said, "Hey, come over and listen." And of course we did. Of course we got 5 offers actually in the first couple days under contract. So we switched during this kind of market of the moment, if you will. We really switched to, we're not selling anybody anything. We just are concerned about you. Like, how are you? How's your family doing? How are you holding up? How are you financially? Is there any need at all? And we'll help you with that, because either we can do it or we probably know somebody that can help out with whatever your needs might be. And that was a big difference that helped us keep momentum through all of this.
So Ty, again, and I want to dig down so people really hear this. So was it like, let's say that the goal was 20 contacts a day or whatever your team's number is. The calls went from, "Can I sell your house?" or whatever that message is, to "How can I help?" Yet the number of contacts didn't change.
That's right. Right.
How are you coping?
In fact, the contacts actually went down, and the reason was because we were having more meaningful conversations. So we actually switched our metric versus how many contacts did you have today versus how many meaningful conversations do you have.
Yeah, it's cool.
What we started to notice was that instead of a voicemail or a 2-minute exchange, it became 8 minutes, 12, 15 minutes, because now we're using the Ford technique, which we use a lot, except at these times it became a lot more personal, and these conversations became extended. So the contacts went down, meaningful conversations went up.
And
I just got a personal message from one of our attendees, and she said, "Thanks, Ty, I'm doing handwritten notes this week."
Good.
Lisa, I'm coming to you. How has your job description or your daily activities changed, if at all?
Interestingly enough, there's days that I feel like it hasn't really changed. And sometimes I have to say that I'm grateful that I'm not in the car showing houses. And I know that sounds terrible, but I'm also working on my team showing those houses. So I have a different goal in that area. And I would say that, just going through the last bold, and if you guys haven't signed up for that, you need to right away. Talking with Ty was just, talking about Ford, and with Steve Schuster, just having longer conversations with people. I'm finding that people are actually answering the phone before you call your sphere of influence. And it was honestly awkward, even though I do call my sphere of influence all the time, that's definitely something that I do. There's always that awkward, why are you calling, and, "Oh, I'm just calling to check in on you." Now you say, "Hey, I'm calling to check in on you." And they're just like, "Oh my gosh. And, oh, and how are you? And, is everybody okay?" People are, they care, and you're able to get into real conversations with people coming from contribution. And I think one of the biggest things that was said that happened with the last bold was that you can offer to help people, right? And now from somebody like me, who's already nonstop, who's already working all the time, that's a scary place. But they said it doesn't have to be from you. So real short sidebar conversation. I make a call to one of my clients who's a veteran, and without disclosing any information there, wasn't able to get his meds, so on and so forth, having all these issues, some personal issues as well. I just called him because I was thinking about him. I think I was up to the letter J, and his name starts with a J. Turns out I called another agent who's a former veteran. She put me in touch with all the right resources. We got him into the right people, and we just sold his house. I also double dipped on that house, and it sold right away. And that was part of the help. He was all over the place. And, it felt like that was, for me, it was just a blessing moment that, I called him that day, and he needed us. He needed us that day.
Appreciate that. Lucky clients, and same to have them in your world. So a question here, has your pre-listing packet changed, and has your listing presentation changed? And if so, how?
I would say yes. I think that number one, I think that there is actually more of a sense of urgency than ever before. You know, I think the one thing that we're missing that the general public doesn't actually know how busy the market is. And I think if they did, they would all put their houses on the market tomorrow. And I think part of our care conversation right now needs to be to tell our past clients that their house is probably worth $100,000 more than they paid for it. And with that being said, that's how my listing appointment has really changed. Before I was going in and really, focusing on here's the numbers, here's the comps, and I'm putting those in front of the people and saying, there's really no chance of, listing your house too low, because we're probably going to have multiple offers tomorrow. And I'm excited to see where this is going to go, and to set their expectations that we still need to price it properly. And, it's still true that the best houses that are priced properly, they're going to get the most showings, but we're going to be in a different environment. So I think my listing appointment has changed, that I don't feel like I have to spend as much time on what I do to get homes sold. And although I'm not changing that piece, I'm still doing the marketing, the advertising, setting up the open house, having all the showings come through the open house. We're still doing all of our social media piece and making our phone calls to other agents around that listing. We're still doing those things, but I don't feel like I have to spend as much time explaining what those things are to my sellers.
So what are you explaining to them?
I'm explaining to them that, we need to price your house properly in order to get the most people through the door, and to get the most excitement, because this is a competitive market. And we want to be able to choose from not only the highest offer, but the best offer. If somebody is using a grant program and they're putting 3% down and they're asking you for closing costs, versus somebody else whose offer might be slightly lower, but they're making their own down payment or perhaps even paying cash, that might be your best offer. So we want to get multiple offers in any situation that we can. Ultimately, Diana Kokoska, again, creating an auction effect where we can, ultimately drive the price of your house up.
Lisa, it almost sounds to me as if you're walking in the door, assuming the sale, and not even jumping so much to like, here's what I'm going to do, will you choose me, to here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to get you what you want.
Yeah, you start at the front door. It's a very important decision you've made to list with me tonight. And so, may I sit down? And, and that's it. They're going to list, it's my listing if I want it.
Love that. Ty, how about you? Listing presentation, pre-listing packet, has it changed? And if so, how?
Pre-listing, no. Listing appointment, yes. A lot of times, what we're noticing is sellers, the general mentality we've noticed about many of our sellers has been, hey, anybody can do this. It's a hot market. I don't even need a realtor. If I do, they don't need to be that good. However, they don't know the pain that they're going to go through, even as a seller in this market. For example, most recently, what happens if you've got 5 offers and one has an escalation clause, one is a lower offer, but they're agreeing to go $5,000 over appraisal? Can I work this offer against that offer, get the escalation clause to a higher amount, but also get offer number 1 to agree to pay $5,000 over appraisal? They would never think of that. Right. And so negotiation is actually more important now than ever, and expectations of we're at the mercy of an appraisal in many cases. So how can we negotiate it so there's the least amount of risk to the seller and their hopes don't get let down by having a price they think they're going to get and a net they think they're going to get, and then being hit with the reality that the appraiser comes in $15,000 low. Absolutely. That happens. Right now we're seeing about 35% of our appraisals come in low. That's significant. So I think there are hidden challenges for sellers in this market that they don't have any way of knowing about until we bring it up ahead of time and then show examples. And that's what's going to set us apart from the other listing agents they may be talking to or maybe working with.
Yeah.
They don't know the pain points that come with a hot seller's market because they just think it's easy and you'll get 10 offers and you'll take the best one.
Yeah.
So that's something to explain with real life examples of why negotiation is important for the sellers in this market, especially.
Yeah.
And then how to take the stress away, right? What if they have to buy another house and they're trying to do a concurrent close? Well, can we negotiate a lease back? Can we do a post-possession for a week? You know, can we look for only an investor client who they can lease back from for a month? So there's a lot of intricacies that we can have as solutions, again, asking the right questions. But I just think there's a lot of pain points that sellers don't recognize that they're going to have to deal with, even in this crazy seller's market.
Absolutely.
You know, we agree with you 100% on that. Go ahead and put in the chat box if you would be interested in really like a whole list of all these types of solutions. Just put in, you know, like, yes, if you would like to know what are all these solutions that they're talking about, you know, what are all, how did you say that? Negotiation techniques, solutions, concerns that they have. If you're interested in that, if you'll just put that into the chat box, I'd like to just see as a show of, you know, who's here, what kinds of response, if you guys are interested in that. Okay, so we're getting a couple, some of you are sending it to me personally. Thank you so much. And so I see that and I get a couple of, yeah. So here's what's really cool. This mastermind, next week, same time, we've got a mastermind. It's going to be half class, half mastermind. And we're going to be creating over the course of this week, a list of all these things that you can actually share with your sellers to win the negotiation, to win the listing. And by being the agent with those solutions, that's who they want to work with. Because like Lisa did, she switched it from, here's why you should list to me, to, hey, here's how we are going to set you up to win. And that's a very different conversation with a tiny little twist, right? I see a couple hands. Let's go ahead and open that up for discussion. Thoughts, questions around this?
Denise, can I jump in 1 second?
Yes.
Yesterday, we got a contract on one of our listings. I think that's contract number 7. They actually sent over the contract with the bins are executed. Put that on that list.
That's cool. I've never seen that one.
Put that on the list.
That's awesome. All right, you guys. So I have another question here. Well, first of all, I'd like you to write this down, or you could just listen to. So here's what I wrote down. Would anyone like, first of all, would anyone like to know the true formula of success? Because I've got it right here. If you'd like it, just give me, okay. Ty does, so I'm gonna give it to you, Ty. Okay, I got more hands, I love it. Here's the true formula for success. Top skills times consistent lead generation equals great results. So I'll say it again, top skills times consistent lead generation equals great results. So whenever I'm coaching an agent, as a coach, I'm always looking, okay, is this a skills issue or is it a consistency of lead generation issue? And usually it'll fall into one or the other. And if it's both, well, that's a challenge, right? So, you know, you don't have to write this down, you'll get it. Top skills times poor lead generation still equals low results. Low skills times consistent lead generation equals low results. So if you had to choose, if you had low skills and low lead generation, anybody have a guess which one you would focus on first?
Uber driving.
Your business grows to the extent you do.
Yes, and I would start with lead generation, Because through that lead generation, even if you just practice your scripts or your skills for 10 minutes every day and then jumped into the lead generation, you're going to grow in that process, right?
Okay.
So on top of that, when I became a Bold coach, John Prescott, the director of Bold at the time, he said, Denise, I'm going to share with you, when you're a Bold coach and you're traveling all over, there are going to be things that you have to say no to. In fact, in order to say yes to being a Bold coach, you have to say no to other things. And so I'd like to take our discussion, our last 10 minutes here, to Lisa and Ty. And I'll ask the question, then I'm going to put up a poll so I can see where you guys are all at as well. Here's the question though. As you've been growing your business, all right, these last years or during this time, as you've grown your business, what have you had to say no to? As you grow to say yes to more production, what have you had to say no to? And so while you guys are thinking about that, I'm going to throw my poll up here. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds. This one says, in order to grow my business, I must say yes to what? And you can have multiple choice on this. You can choose more than one. I'd love to see what the group has to say. And Ty, I'll come to you first here. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and end this. All right, you guys ready? Get your last. All right, so here are the results. 100% of you said yes to consistent lead generation. I gave you the answer, so you guys all get a house and a star today. I love it. Consistent business planning, right? If we don't know where we're going, how do we know what to work on? A couple of you have said hire a coach to be more accountable and work more in my database. Great job, you guys. So let's go ahead, and Ty, I'm gonna come to you first. What have you had to say no to?
Well, luckily it's stuff I didn't have an option to say yes to, like our band playing out, at different places and band rehearsals. I'm totally into music, so I love that. That really hasn't been an option over the last several months. A lot of industry type events that I love to go to, they're just not always dollar productive from a lead generation standpoint. They are as far as networking with agents and building those relationships. There's value there.
Ty, I'm gonna stop because I understand the feedback. It's all in the value of the how good my question is. So I'm gonna go back. Let's go back years.
Mm-hmm.
What have you had to say no to in the past, not necessarily in the current market, okay? To grow your business, whether we have pandemic or not, right? Over the years, what have you had to say no to in order to grow to the success where you're at? Director of Kenny Klaus's team, 10 million in sales. Like, what have you had to say no to get to these levels?
I've had to say no to people in my life that weren't thinking at a higher level or growing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That includes some family, some friends, people that I still love dearly, that unfortunately I've had to gravitate away from because I can't be around negativity. I can't be around small-minded or lack of growth-minded individuals. So the number one thing I've had to say no to is spending time with and being influenced by people that are not on the same trajectory.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. How about you, Lisa?
Oh, so I think I'm approaching this question from, going back to, when I first started and, what's still the same and, where I had to be in order to grow my business. And, I remember when I said I got into real estate again, when the market had just crashed. And I think there was a lot of economic sacrifices that I had to make, where it was saying no to things that were not directly related to growing my business. If it wasn't an investment in my business, you know, it might have been that purse or a pair of shoes or, you know, maybe a trip or something, that I would say, okay, well, what else could I do with this money that's going to help me to grow my business? And now I have whatever shoes, purses, and trips I want. So, and then the sad part of that is there's been things that I've had to say no with my family. And they've also learned that we're in business together. And I almost said no to my daughter about a program that she wanted to do. It was $18,000. And she was so used to me approaching things, because I never wanted to say, no, you couldn't have something, or no, we don't have the time, because I didn't want to send that message. That's certainly not the way to say it. You know, I wanted to say, how do we get that? We might not be able to have it now, but let's set a goal around that. And she just backsassed me and said, well, you know, that's only one commission. And I said, well, who do you know that wants to buy a house and or sell a house? And it wound up with a listing from that conversation. And she's like, did you call Larry yet? So, you know, those things that we think might be sacrifices, you know, they certainly may seem important at that time. But if today, I still do it, you know, and do I really need another dress? Do I really need another pair of shoes? You know, maybe I'm better off, you know, either saving that money, I would use that mentality today, or reinvest it into an ad, or, you know, that's the things that I did in the past. And then I can't agree more with Ty. Your income is the direct sum, or average of the 5 people you hang out with most. And so, you know, taking people who are stinking thinking, broke-minded, you know, you know, being poor is a temporary situation, but if, you know, your mindset is, this is the way it's always going to be for me, and it's never ever going to change, even though you might try to hand somebody an opportunity, you know, they might not be the people that get to be around me all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So.
You guys, I love this conversation so much, and I always like to honor everybody's time. I will stay after the top of the hour to answer any questions anyone has. With that said, I would like each of you to just take a moment, and wherever you're at in your business, knowing where you'd like to end up at the end of the year. I saw this posted on a page yesterday, and they were talking about weight. A friend of mine's a weight coach in Vermont, and she said, how much weight would you like to lose if you knew success was guaranteed? And I was like, well, that changes the answer, right? And so I thought about, as I've been thinking about that this last 24 hours, as, you know, what is it that when you think of the goal that you, January 1st, I'm going to hit this goal no matter what, and then all this stuff happened, if you could still hit that goal no matter what do you have to say no to? Go ahead and write it down. What do you have to say no to? And then I'll answer mine, because I gave a lot of thought to this. And for those of you brave souls, because accountability is always great, type it in the chat box. When I became a coach in 2004, when you're a coach and you do 55, 60 coaching calls in a week, because that's the coaching schedule I've always held, you definitely say no to a lot of other things. My children were at home at the time, and so I think about everybody, parents who have kids at home right now, and you're working from home. Now, I'm not going to say I was the best parent. I mean, my kids still like me and come to see me, so that's pretty good. They're 24 and 26. I'll take it, right? I would say, hey, unless you're bleeding profusely or not breathing, do not come through that door, right? So they were about 8 and 10 when I started working from home. Sometimes I'd get little notes under the door. What I learned though back then that was invaluable, like I would never get rid of it, is I learned the value of a schedule. And I learned to say no to things that took me off my schedule. So if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist, right? Bold law. And so I would, taking that time to put it in my calendar. And then for me, it was this matter of, the way somebody put it was choices. So it's saying no to poor choices. So there were plenty of times prior to becoming a coach, a girlfriend would call and say, hey, what's your schedule? Could we go to lunch? Or do you want to play a round of golf today? Or I'm like, oh yeah, I could take off a little bit. Yeah. And when I became a coach, I wasn't able to do that any longer. And that training has helped me a lot. So when I get to that point of making that poor choice, I just think, gosh, I make that choice. What will that bring me? And I make this choice, and what will that get me? And so to start out, making a better choice 51% of the time was my goal. And then as that grew, it's making that better choice most of the time. So for me, it's about the way I choose to spend my time to make a better choice. Let's go ahead and do this, you guys. I'd like to wrap this up and get a couple of ahas of what you learned today, perhaps from wonderful Lisa, Lisa Wunder, wonderful, Ty, awesome, Lusk. What are some of your takeaways today? And let's go ahead and open it up. You can all talk at once.
I'll talk.
Gail.
From both of them, this was really, really great. And I'm a really good person that gets distracted by anything at any time, all the time. So focusing and just taking this time is really difficult for me. It just is. I'm a mover. But I heard a couple of things, and that is the handwritten note idea. I think I heard Ty and a Bold talk about that before, and I think I heard Tim talk about it. But I think I'm going to go back through all of my clients and do handwritten notes, just how you're doing during this difficult time. And is there anything that I can reach out and I can do? And then the other thing was, I think it was Lisa that mentioned it. Now, of course, I'm at that age.
Okay, you got it.
Profound, Lisa. So profound. It's right there. I'll probably have to come back to it, but I know it was something that you said that I'm going to focus in on. And shoot, I lost the second thing.
If you come back to it, let us know. Let us know. Who else? Margie.
Hi, everyone. For me, it was very clear. I'm new to resale, so this is all new for me. But what was very clear between Lisa and Ty, as well as you, Denise, is building your contact list, generating lead. Everyone that you come in contact is an opportunity. But what's key, it's not just selling the home, but maintaining the relationship time over time. I was really shocked to hear that, 16% actually relist with the agent that they used originally to sell their home. That was shocking to me. Mm-hmm. So it's really clear, maintaining consistent contact, like Ty, who has that drip campaign, and quarterly basis, he's sending something out. When times change, we have to change. And so he adapted during COVID and started issuing personal notes, just maintaining contact, key, important. And everybody, I love that story, Lisa, about your daughter. Yeah. Everyone is an opportunity. Well, I don't want to say it like that, but
he knows it. It's okay.
Yeah, possibility of creating a lead generation. So thank you. It was wonderful. Learned a lot today. Thanks.
Thank you. Who else? Let's get one more.
I'll go. Can you guys hear me?
Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hi. Oh my gosh, you guys were amazing. But yes, I loved the examples, especially one that really connected with was Ty's, especially on family and negative attitudes and small minds and some of that, because it can really like suck my energy down. So I'm like, oh, I gotta, not answer mom's call at 10 a.m. when I want to get stuff done. Like I can call her later. And so that and consistency. So being a therapist, I talk to, outside of therapy, I talk to a lot of people, and I'm generally always like, what do they need? What are they looking for? And if I can do that consistently with a lot of people, it opens up those conversations to real estate goals. And so,
yeah, Monica, all those solutions you had for those therapy clients, we just create a different list of solutions for your real estate clients. Same thing.
Yeah, I was like taking notes on that. It really
love it. Willis, I saw you had your hand. I don't want to take away.
No, I was just going to say that for me, the aha was making sure that the conversations we have are more meaningful and have a bigger impact rather than just, talking to people to be talking to people, have a purpose and looking out for ways to maybe fill a need that they have in their life, or just, listening to them more in depth.
So wonderful. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Ty. Thank you, everybody who took time out of your schedule today to invest in yourself, to really grow yourself as a person and as an agent so that your business can grow, right? This is what we talk about, learning for the sake of doing. Right? So taking something that it's one of our 6 personal perspectives, is taking knowledge that you learned today and implementing it in your business for the sake of growing that business is so important. And, personally, I just want to thank everybody who showed up today and poured into each other and added value. As a coach and somebody who's used to being with people, and people fill my soul, this has been the challenging part for me, is how do I, my dog is okay, but he likes Mike. He likes him better than me. So you all have filled my soul today, and I just want to thank you so much. And again, we have a couple things coming up. Next week, we are doing, Tim Tice and Scott Kibbers are working on half class, half mastermind. And it's going to be exactly what Lisa and Ty were talking about today, which is a list of solutions that you can use in your listing presentations to help people. Like Lisa said, I'm just walking and assuming the sale, and here's all the things that are going to help you get to where you want to be. And I love how Ty does it even more in the the pre-qualification, because there's so much you can walk in and offer the right solutions there as well. So that's what Tim and Scott are going to be doing next week. Moving forward from that, we are looking at possibly having one, if we still have enough interest. The 3rd week, we'll do another listing mastermind, to be determined still. And then the week after that, so I'll let you know these dates. You guys will all get an invite on this. The week after that, I'm so excited. I'm putting together a mastermind with agents that I coached prior to becoming a Bold coach. They're all Keller Williams agents. And I asked one of them to be on the call today, and he wasn't able to. And when I was coaching him, we first started coaching together. He was doing about 19 transactions a year. And now he's doing over 100 transactions a year on his own in 4 years. And so I know so many of these folks who got into coaching years ago and where they're at. So we're going to be asking them about listings all over the country, trusting that some of their knowledge will work in our market as well. So look out for these masterminds. If there's a topic you'd like, let me know, because it's really for you that we're doing it. And I just want to thank all of you so much. Ty, Lisa, great job today. You are true professionals, and everyone have an amazing week. And I'll stay on for any questions that we have.